What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Manny Pacquiao, the Pac-Man. What is his options for his next fight? I'm going to talk about that in this video. His CEO and president of MP Promotions, Manny Pacquiao's promotional company, Sean Gibbons, has come out and stated that Manny Pacquiao is looking to return in April. And the two opponents that they're looking at is Floyd Mayweather and the notorious one, Conor McGregor. Now, I'm going to tell you why that those two options are not realistic for the Pac-Man Pacquiao. Man, I don't see any one of those two fights happening for him next. I think it's a lot of moving parts in play as far as Manny Pacquiao's next opponent. You got people wanting him to do this, and you got other people wanting him to do that. And I'm going to explain to you what I'm telling you right now. His advisor, Sean Gibbons, obviously don't want to see him in the ring with Errol Spence Jr. He don't want that fight next. He don't want to see him in the ring with Terrence Bud Crawford either. He wants him to take a low-risk, high-reward fight as his next opponent. That's why you always heard the name of Mikey Garcia as a potential next opponent for Manny Pacquiao. But they knew they couldn't sell that fight based on Mikey Garcia's last performance, as he got dominated by Errol Spence Jr. And he, dominated. He basically got washed in that fight. It was one thing to lose a fight and be competitive like Sean Porter was against Errol Spence, but it's another thing to get thoroughly dominated like Mikey Garcia was against Errol Spence Jr. So that's not a sellable fight. Mikey Garcia needs to get a win up on this belt, and then he can revisit a fight with Manny Pacquiao. So that's what Sean Gibbons them wanted at first. Then they were looking at possibly Danny Garcia. That's the opponent that Freddie Roach wants. That's the lead trainer for Manny Pacquiao. He looking at Danny Garcia. That's he wants that fight as a next fight for Manny Pacquiao. But it's a debate on how much that fight will do on pay-per-view, as Danny Garcia has never fought on pay-per-view. He has a following. He does real good numbers in the Barclays. But the last time out, when he fought Adrian Granados, they did that fight at the StubHub Center in L.A. Didn't have a big crowd out there for that fight. Didn't do huge numbers. That fight had no business out on the West Coast either. But if you the draw that Danny Garcia has been claiming he is, calling himself every time he fights at the Danny Garcia show, and he's he looks at himself as being a big draw, you ought to be able to draw no matter where you fight. And he didn't draw good numbers on the West Coast at all. Now, he did do pretty good numbers when he fought Brandon Rios, but Brandon Rios was from that area, and he was able to generate a lot of buzz, and he was able to get people to come out for that fight. But when it was the Danny Garcia show, as he states, and he fought Granados, he was a clear draw. It didn't do good numbers. So that's not the that fight is a good fight, but it's not gonna bring Manny Pacquiao the most money. So that fight is out. So it all leads to Errol Spence Jr. If he can't get Manny Pacquiao, and if he can't get Conor McGregor, and he can't get Floyd Mayweather Jr., the next in line is Errol Spence. That's the biggest money fight out there for Manny Pacquiao, and I believe that'll be the next fight for him. Now, that's the fight PBC is really pulling for. That's what they're doing behind the scenes. They're working hard behind the scenes to make that fight next. That's the fight they want, and I think they're going to get their wish based on Floyd Mayweather not able to take a Manny Pacquiao rematch. I don't think he'll get in there with Manny Pacquiao, especially with no tune-up. He'll definitely not fight him without a tune-up. He's definitely going to want to get in the ring and fight one fight or maybe even two fights before he's willing to get in the ring with Manny Pacquiao. So that's out as far as Manny Pacquiao's next fight. Conor McGregor, that's not going to happen. Dana White came out right after he knocked out and submitted Cowboy Cerrone and said that he wanted to make Conor McGregor Khabib, provided that Khabib defeats Tony Ferguson in April on their UFC pay-per-view. That's the fight he want to make next. And I think somebody in Team McGregor came out and said that that they want to have a fight in the summer, sometime in the summer. So that would be sometime, July, August, September. And Sean Gibbons just come out and said, Manny Pacquiao next fight will be in April. So those two things don't mesh. So I don't see that fight happening anywhere. The weight, and besides that, the weight difference. Conor McGregor is a big middleweight in UFC. I think he is fighting at 155, 160, somewhere in that range, 155. And Pacquiao's fighting at 147. He's a small welterweight, so they have to agree on the weight. That's one thing that came into play when he fought Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather was able to agree to the catch weight because Floyd Mayweather fought him at, I think, it was at 155. That was the weight limit. Well, Manny Pacquiao agreed to that, or we make Conor McGregor come down. And Conor McGregor is a big guy, real big guy, so he might not be able to make the 147 weight limit. They would have to discuss the weight. Pacquiao did fight. He did fight for the junior middleweight belt when he fought. The boy that with the plasters around his wraps, man. I can't remember his name, man, as he fought Cotto. And it was determined later on that he was using plaster on his hand wraps. And Pacquiao fought him in Cowboy Stadium. That fight was at the junior middleweight division, but it was at a catch weight. I think it was 151, 152. So that's the highest Pacquiao has ever fought. And he came in that fight at 151. So maybe they could do that at 155, and maybe Pacquiao come in at 151. But when you look at the two schedules that both guys are on, I don't see that happening either. As Manny's looking to come back in April, and Conor is looking to fight Khabib and maybe take a tune-up before that sometime in the summer and fight Khabib somewhere toward the end of 2020. If not, fighting Khabib in his next fight, provided that Khabib beat Ferguson. So I don't see that fight, those two fights happening at all. So that leads me to believe that we will see Manny Pacquiao versus Errol Spence Jr. in April. And it'll be a Fox pay-per-view, and I think that's the most likely scenario. With an outsized chance that it could be Chance Crawford. I think Pacquiao's looking at fighting for belts, man. At this point in his career, I think he's looking at fighting the title holders, and that's one of the reasons that ruled out Mikey Garcia. He didn't have a title, and he was coming off a loss. And Danny Garcia doesn't have a title, and I don't think he draws the numbers that Errol Spence would draw. They could put that fight between him and Pacquiao at AT&T Cowboy Stadium, or they could put that fight in Las Vegas, or they could put that fight at the Barclays, and they could do real good numbers. So that's what I'm hearing, man. That's the options I believe, and that's the likely fight I see next. Despite what Sean Gibbons is looking to, he's looking at, like I said, low risk, high reward, and he's looking at making the most money. If he can get Mayweather with no tune-ups, they would be the favorite, in my opinion, to win that fight. And if he could fight Conor McGregor in the boxing ring, obviously he'll be the favorite to beat Conor McGregor, a guy coming from MMA. So Sean Gibbons is looking at it from that standpoint. PBC wants Errol Spence Jr. to get that fight. If he can win, he could be the next pay-per-view star. He could grab the throne from Pacquiao and be the next Mayweather for PBC that they're looking to make happen. And then Freddie Roach is looking for Danny Garcia. He thinks that's a good friendly fight, and that's a fight he thinks Pacquiao can win. But the numbers are not on the par with a fight between Errol Spence Jr. And I think that's why that fight's not going to be next. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires, man. But Manny Pacquiao should be making a decision here real soon in the coming days and coming weeks. Maybe by the end of the month, you might hear something as far as Manny Pacquiao's next opponent. And you heard it here first. And if there's other people that have leaked that too, other YouTubers have been saying this too, man. And I believe strongly with this, despite the comments made by Sean Gibbons, that Manny Pacquiao's next fight will be Errol Spence Jr. because that's the opponent that he can make the most money off of, and that's the fight that PBC is really pushing behind the scenes. So we'll see what happens in the coming days and coming weeks. Subscribe to JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend, and leave your comments in the comments section if you agree with what I believe it's going to be Errol Spence Jr. or if you think it's going to actually be Floyd Mayweather Jr. It's going to be Conor McGregor. Or it's going to be some other opponent that I haven't mentioned. Maybe Amir Khan. Maybe they can revive that. He's talking about that fight in the Middle East. Leave your comments in the comments section. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.